Thanks for your patience. This is a premiere for both for me and for you guys helping us here with this setup. My name is Dragos. I work with MHP Romania doing UI development. And today I'm going to show you some really cool technologies that have been brought by a lot of players, but mainly driven by Google in the past few years. And yeah, I was even asked if I was going to talk about vitamins today, sort of. So let's see if this works. Oh, smooth enough. Cool. So I said I will talk about vitamins. We'll talk about the web. We'll talk about mobile and about mobile apps. So the internet has been really dominating our lives, I guess, in the past decade or so. We spend a lot of time on it, and when we use our phones, we spend most of our times using mobile apps, but we still spend a lot of the times using the web. So we say a lot on the web because of its key features, which made it the perfect environment to drive information. Things like the web apps being able to run on all screen sizes with the same code base. The web pages, they're discoverable, so that our search engines can crawl through them, and you can find any website that you need on any device. They can also, we as users can point to exact locations in exact screens in websites. This is another core feature of the web. And when we use them, we can also use our keyboards, our mouse, our touch screens, whatever, and even if you use the devices with assistive technologies, screen readers, and so on, the web will be there for you. Well, if developers do their job. But yeah. So, and yet, we still use mobile apps most of our time when we use our phones. Why is that? Nothing new here. Just gonna get this out of the way. So basically, the first key features are its power, its graphics, its performance. Mobile technologies like Java and Objective-C and C# and so on, they always have earlier and deeper access to technologies for phones, operating system for its hardware, for features like augmented reality, payments, and so on. So this is still what keeps us using apps on our phones. The web is not nearly, it's like light years behind, we can say, behind mobile in this territory. But, and this is our but today, this may change in the future thanks to some new toys, as I mentioned in the beginning. Yeah, so these new toys, it wasn't possible. It's not the first time that these new toys come into play. So some of you may have already known of other features, other technologies like hybrid web apps and stuff like that tend to mimic mobile apps. But for those features, they renounced a lot of those core features of what made the web the web. And some of them are really successful, but some are still in that hybrid territory. However, during these last few years, the progresses in hardware and advances in broadband with our network providers and the most complex software that we're building now, plus the fact that the web has now the largest user base on this globe, this basically shapes a context where some of these new technologies may make a difference from now on. And yeah, this latest technology that does this is called progressive web apps. Been introduced in 2015 by Google. That's when they started building the foundations. And they are web apps, yes, but this is more of an umbrella term. Yeah, so this is basically what progressive web apps means. I've stripped this from one of their documentation pages. It's a set of best practices, technologies that's been gathered through the past decade or so. And some technologies also included that already existed, and some technologies are quite new, like a few years new, like service workers and the web manifest file that we'll see it can help you do some really cool stuff now with web apps. And yeah, this wall of text makes me a bit anxious just looking by it, so let's breathe a bit. What that wall of text actually means is that we finally have a definition for a mature web app. And one popular informal definition for them is also inspired the title of this talk is they're just web apps that took all the right vitamins. That's just how you're going to see them. You will see the web flourishing and evolving in the next years and gaining just more features from the mobile environment. So let's take a look at some of those features. The first, they've used acronyms for this and I really like them, so I kept them. Add to home screen. And yeah, I prepared some screenshots as a fallback, but let's try and actually do a live demo. Let's see if this works. Connecting. Loading. I'll give it 10 more seconds. So we'll first look at add to home screen is basically the feature that we've known sort of until now, but with a different name. It was called create a web shortcut for a web page. Oh, there it is. Create a web shortcut for a web page on your phone. So I'll delete these two. This is what I tested just before. And this first feature, let's just go to theverge.com. I know this is not a progressive web app, so this is why we'll be demoing this one. Okay, so it's just a responsive site, and this has been around for many years. We can push add to home screen here. It will prompt us to rename it if you like, and I'll just hit add, confirm. Okay, so there it is. So up in the top left corner, we just have a web shortcut. What this does is it just launches the site in a new browser tab in Chrome, basically. Yep. So this is what was so far. What is present from now on, what progressive web apps brings. I tried it with Uber. Let's try it. Cool website, Smashing Magazine. It's loading. Okay. Now when you hit add to home screen, you get a similar model. This varies from browser to browser, but when you hit add, after you hit add, that's when the magic happens. So, where it is? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so we'll just jump into the next features as we can do the live demo. First thing you notice, there's no more browser Chrome. You don't see the URL bar at the top. And apart from that, it looks pretty much identical. The second thing you might have noticed that it loaded really fast, but we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, the first and the most important item is it loads in its own window. And as you can see, it's right side by side Chrome when you try to switch through your apps. And this makes it also has an app icon, and if we try and test another one, such as Uber, yep, so here we have the initial app and web app, and if we decide to save it as the progressive web app, sorry. Is it saving, adding, oh, there it is. There's a splash screen, it loaded, there's no browser Chrome. So it's a fully immersive experience. You no longer have those controls to always remind you that you're in a browser. Well, what happens if we turn off our network connections completely? And let's just close everything. Oh, that's a bit of lag. It's still costing. We just lost our connection. Yep. So what I was about to show you is that when you completely turn off your network, the progressive app still loads. Actually not. I think it changed. No, it's good. Okay. So we'll fall back to our presentation. This was fun. And bear with me. So sorry for technical difficulties. We'll just resume from where we left off. Yeah, so we started going through the features. Yeah, so we experienced the add to home screen. This has changed. This lets our app become a first-class citizen on your home screen now. And the next feature is the architecture. So basically, the reason that the application loads this fast is that it uses an app shell architecture model where it loads the app's shell first and then, or in parallel, its content. So this means that when you load the app, it always loads really fast because it loads it locally and it loads really fast. And I repeated this. I said it always loads because this is really important for web apps, because so far when you did not have network connection, your experience was lost basically. You saw that little T-Rex in Chrome or whatever browser you're using and game over. So now at least your application loads. There are various caching strategies that you can implement to store some content on that application to use it later. And you can open it just like you use Facebook or something, and the content loads, the last content that you saved loads, and it will just notice you that you may need to refresh your network connection to get the latest content. Another feature, so basically this is its reliability. You can use it without a network connection, and we can use it. We use it without the Chrome controls, without the browser controls. That makes it feel really like an app. Another thing that web apps have received with these progressive standards is notifications. So you can receive actual notifications on your phone without the app being open on a web application. And this was not possible before. And the last feature we'll mention, last but certainly not least, security. So you can imagine that if you have a web application running on your phone, and it constantly intercepts and listens to network signals being cached and sent for your application, you want this to be as safe as possible. So another cool thing that progressive web apps they make it mandatory is HTTPS. So all web apps need to run on HTTPS in order to qualify as one. So yeah, everything sounds nice so far, but it doesn't really sound like rocket science in terms of an application, right? We've all seen everything that we've sort of tried to present so far on mobile apps, but what's the catch then? So the catch is that all of these core features that have built the web in the last decade, last 30 years, I guess, or better said, all of these large features of the web. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So all of these progressive app features, they can be added gradually, or better said, progressively, to the code base of an existing web application. And without the need to recompile that web code for running on a browser, or like with hybrid apps when you need to package them in some C or Java code. And this will only run for browsers that support them. Yes, Microsoft Edge is there as well. And for those that do not support them, it will just run as your normal web app. It will be no problem. And all of this, so all of the progressive web app features with your same code base, you don't need to rewrite it or recompile it or run it through an application store. You use the same web distribution model. And running on browsers that support them, they still all have linkability, openness, accessibility, and everything that the web was built on. So that was our good catch. Our less good catch is that this is still work in progress, as you may have guessed. We started seeing this pop up here and there. As you saw, Uber is public, Smashing Magazine, and there are a lot of other websites that are building on top of this as well. And the catch is that the platforms that implement this are not exactly consistent. So Apple has their own point of view, Microsoft as well in Chrome, and they are struggling to, well, they're working together to make this as smooth as possible. And what this means for developers is, and designers and creators, is that we need to mindfully consider all of these differences and cover and work around to ensure UX as smooth as possible for the user. And to conclude, I would like to invite you to explore some of these apps. If you're not going to use a wireless setup as I did, and you'll just use them on their phone, they will work, I promise you. And yeah, so Uber, AliExpress, Financial Times, and you can find more at the last two links on the page. And yeah, Twitter Lite, that's really another example that's been documented. They did a really awesome job making a good progressive web app. Thank you for your patience, and if there are any questions.
Thank you, Dragos. We'll take one question. Okay, so I'll ask myself then. What's your recommendation if someone wants to start developing PWA applications? What framework he should use? I mean, should we look at Twitter framework or should we look to something else?
Yeah, good question. So you are free to use whatever you like. You can just build a very simple website and add a manifest file and integrate service workers into that, and it will work out of the box. You can use Twitter, and if there are any Angular devs in here, I can happily say that they are really tightly integrated with Google's Angular as well. So it's very open, and the recommendation is as complex as your product needs to be. So.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dragos. Thanks.